So imagine you're applying for a really high-stakes tech role.
Okay.
You log into the company's portal, and you're probably expecting, the usual sterile
Right, like
interface.
a generic chatbot.
Exactly. A chatbot asking you to upload a PDF for the fifth time, or some frantic pop-up demanding you fill out 20 fields of data you literally just gave them.
We've all been there. It's the worst.
It really is. But instead, the screen resolves into this digital environment rendered with really warm fireside lighting.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a woodland lodge. And sitting across from you, looking directly into the camera, is a broad-shouldered brown bear.
A bear.
A bear. And he's wearing a premium black athletic tracksuit.
That is quite the visual.
Right. He pauses, looks at you calmly, and asks, "What brings you to the woods today?"
I mean, that is just a profound sensory shock to the system.
Seriously.
You're stepping out of this chaotic, hyper-fast digital economy and walking directly into the executive lodge of Brehon AI Recruitment, or BAIR.
And that is exactly what we are getting into for today's deep dive. We're taking a comprehensive journey through the entire candidate experience of this BAIR ecosystem.
Which is fascinating, by the way.
It really is. We've got this massive stack of internal documentation to guide us. I'm talking doc and files, character bibles, system architecture blueprints, and even their highly specific voice specifications.
A goldmine of data.
Yeah, and our mission today is for you, the listener, to understand what it actually feels like for a job seeker to engage with this uniquely governed AI-assisted recruitment machine.
Right. From start to finish.
Exactly. We're going to break down their philosophy from that very first greeting through all the underlying regulatory mechanics and right into the really intensive training they demand from their candidates.
And honestly, the visual of the bear in a tracksuit, it's the perfect entry point into their entire operational mindset.
Because it's not just some marketing gimmick, right?
No, not at all. According to their character Bible, this environment is called the Executive Lodge. And it sits within this broader sort of institutional operating system they call Davidos.
Davidos, got it.
Yeah. So BAIR occupies the recruitment wing of this digital house. And the design cues are obsessively specific.
Like, how specific are we talking?
Well, the bear isn't a cartoon mascot. He has expressive, wide-eye sclera and a highly detailed, quote, mock-closed knit fur texture.
Wow, they really went all in.
They did. And he's wearing a zip hoodie with a gold bear shield crest on the chest.
Right, the tracksuit.
Exactly. But it's the materials of the tracksuit, like the knitted brown mesh and these clean, white-soled sneakers. They're specifically designed to read as premium athleisure.
Premium athleisure. So it's casual but expensive.
Right. It signals meticulous high-end construction.
I notice in the documents, sometimes they note he's actually wearing a tailored navy suit for boardroom context.
Yes, depending on the scenario.
But his bearing is identical, right?
Yeah.
Like arms crossed, steady gaze. The contrast is just fascinating to me.
How so?
Well, stepping into the BR ecosystem, it feels like walking into a hushed, high-end library or maybe a premium Swiss watchmaker's workshop.
Oh, that's a great comparison.
Whereas the traditional recruitment agency model, it feels more like a chaotic trading floor.
Right. Everyone yelling and waving papers around.
Exactly. It's stressful. But this BR environment, it kind of forces you to lower your shoulders.
And that physiological response.
Yeah.
It's entirely engineered.
Really?
Oh, absolutely. If you look at the behavioral design at play here, the woodland metaphor, the lodge, the seasons, this concept of being rooted, it serves as an environmental psychological anchor.
Because job seekers are basically operating in fight or flight mode.
Yes. Job seekers today are operating with severely elevated cortisol levels. They are constantly scanning for threats, bracing for rejection.
Trying to decode those weird, opaque algorithmic filters.
Right, so the visual warmth of the lodge, it's this necessary baseline reset before they even begin to assess your skills.
That makes a lot of sense. And the voice specifications are where this behavioral design gets, honestly, incredibly granular.
Oh, the voice specs are wild.
Yeah. The delivery instructions for the BAIR persona dictate this really calm, declarative, and sparse communication style.
They're very strict about the pacing.
Extremely. The cadence is locked in at 135 to 150 words per minute.
Which is pretty slow.
Yes, standard conversational English usually sits around 150 to 160 words per minute. And if you think about an enthusiastic sales pitch, that can push 180 easily.
So dropping the pace to that 135-word threshold, it's a really subtle but powerful auditory cue.
It feels unhurried.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A slightly slower, mid-tempo delivery signals complete control. Fast talkers are usually, trying to sell you something or they're running out of time.
But the BAIR has infinite time.
Right. The doctrine explicitly forbids hype, exclamation points, and what they actually call salesy desperation.
Salesy desperation. I love that term.
It's so accurate, though. The emotional register they aim for is described as quiet authority emotion in the doctrine.
And the scripts even mandate deliberate beats, right? Like pauses.
Yes. He will state a foundational standard, pause completely to let the weight of it land, and then state the consequence.
That feels like it would completely filter the type of candidate who actually thrives here.
Oh, it absolutely does.
Because the character Bible notes that BAIR is, quote, allergic to bluff or spin.
Right.
So if you're a candidate who relies on hyperbole or padding your resume with vague buzzwords or trying to just charm your way past technical deficiencies...
This environment is going to feel intensely uncomfortable for you.
Yeah, I'd imagine so.
It creates this built-in self-selecting mechanism. By presenting this front of austerity and rigorous standards, the system naturally attracts candidates who value evidence and clear boundaries over, like, corporate flattery.
That makes sense. And the sign-offs in their communication highlight this beautifully.
What do you mean?
Well, after explaining a really complex requirement, BAIR doesn't beg the candidate to apply.
Oh, right.
The standard closing is simply, when you're ready, let's talk. The BAIR.
It invites, but it never chases.
Exactly. But, okay, let me push back on this a little bit.
Go for it.
Putting myself in the shoes of a candidate who has been, say, out of work for 6 months, that austerity might feel a bit cold.
I can see that.
Right. Like if I'm nervous and vulnerable, I might actually want a recruiter to offer a bit of human warmth, to tell me, hey, we'll find you something great, don't worry.
Sure, you want reassurance.
Yeah. So deliberately under-emoting like this,
Right.
doesn't it risk alienating the very talent it wants to help?
It's a fair question. But their doctrine addresses that exact friction.
How so?
Well, the warmth is present, but it is strictly rationed. They describe it in the files as sincere, never gushing.
Sincere, never gushing.
Right. The fundamental philosophy here is that superficial cheerleading from a recruiter is essentially a form of bluffing.
Because they can't actually guarantee you the job.
Exactly. A recruiter cannot guarantee you the job. If they hype you up and then you fail the technical screen, that artificial warmth turns into a sense of betrayal for the candidate.
Oh, that's so true. It feels awful when that happens.
Right, so BAIR replaces the empty calories of cheerleading with the durable nutrition of trust.
I like that analogy. Empty calories versus nutrition.
Yeah. The comfort actually comes from the predictability of the system, knowing that you will be evaluated strictly, fairly, and transparently. That is deeply reassuring to the nervous system over the long term.
So it's more of a mentor's calm assessment rather than a cheerleader's empty promise.
Precisely.
That distinction between a mentor who tells you exactly where you stand and a friend who just hypes you up is critical here.
It really is.
So, okay, let's say the candidate accepts this mentor dynamic. They answer the prompt and they click the door marked "Be Hired."
Now we're getting into the mechanics.
Right. We leave the visual aesthetics of the Woodland Lodge and hit the actual machinery of the system.
And this is where it gets really technical.
Yeah, their entire operational mandate is to hire by the book, which basically means the process is governed, auditable, and relentlessly bias checked.
Which requires a really deep dive into how they view their technology stack.
Let's do it.
The foundational technical philosophy, written right in the doctrine, is AI is labor you manage, not software you license.
See, that completely reframes the dynamic for me. They treat the AI as an employee, not just a tool.
It does, and it changes the entire architecture of the system.
Yeah.
They deploy AI and candidate intelligence to do the really heavy lifting.
Like what kind of heavy lifting?
The parsing of massive data sets, the initial capability matching, the semantic analysis of a candidate's portfolio, all the tedious stuff.
Right, the stuff that takes humans forever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But there is this non-negotiable architectural guardrail they use, the human in the loop, or HITL model.
In the loop. Okay.
The machine is deployed specifically to remove the drudgery of endless data sorting, but a human being remains entirely accountable for the final judgment.
So the technology serves the standards, it never dictates them.
Exactly.
And those standards are rigid. I was reading about the bedrock of this entire back end, which they call the reconstruction principle.
Oh, this is a huge part of it.
The doctrine states, nothing is trusted just because it happened. Everything is trusted because it is reconstructible.
And to really understand the weight of that principle, You have to look at the regulatory frameworks BAIR has integrated into its core.
Right, because they aren't just making up their own rules.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
The documentation lists the EU AI Act, the ISO 42001 standard for artificial intelligence management systems, and the NIST AI risk management framework.
That is a lot of heavy compliance.
It is. BAIR does not treat recruitment algorithms as casual sorting tools. They explicitly categorize their candidate sorting AI as high risk.
And under the EU AI Act, systems used for employment, worker management, and access to self-employment actually are classified as high risk,
Right.
which triggers massive compliance requirements like mandatory conformity assessments, detailed technical documentation, logging of output, and strict human oversight.
It's a huge burden.
Yeah, and most tech companies fight these regulations, right? They want to maintain their proprietary black boxes. But BAIR seems to have built its entire infrastructure around them.
They essentially turned the regulatory burden into their primary feature.
Wow.
Yeah. They run a proprietary regulatory and audit engine called ARIOS.
ARIOS, A-R-I-O-S.
Right. And they pair that with a mathematical standard for candidate qualification called the Davincia Plus, or DVA standard.
Okay, so you have the audit engine and the math standard working together.
Exactly. And because of this architecture, every single micro decision made by the AI generates an evidence pack.
An evidence pack, like a receipt for the decision.
Kind of,
Yeah.
yeah. If the AI filters a candidate out of a talent pool,
Right.
it isn't just a binary no.
Right.
ARIOS logs the specific vector weights assigned to the candidate's skills at that exact timestamp, and it maps them against the DVA threshold.
So the reconstruction principle essentially functions like an airplane's black box.
Yeah.
Or like instant replay in professional sports. No matter what happens, you can roll the tape back and see exactly why a call was made.
It ensures total fairness. If a candidate is rejected and questions the decision, BI doesn't have to guess.
Or offer those vague platitudes about moving forward with other candidates.
Right, none of that. They can roll the tape back, pull the ARIOS log, and show the exact objective standard that wasn't met.
And honestly, this dramatically shifts the power dynamic of the modern job search.
It really does.
Because the psychological exhaustion of job hunting, what everyone calls candidate fatigue, it doesn't stem from the effort of applying.
No, playing is just clicking buttons mostly.
Right. It stems from the silent void of the black box.
Oh, absolutely.
Candidates lie awake wondering if their resume was rejected because of a formatting error or algorithmic bias against a gap year, or simply because literally no one looked at it.
It's maddening.
But by enforcing reconstructability, BAIR basically cures the fatigue of the unknown.
And they also enforce strict data privacy guardrails to make this work safely.
Right, because logging all that data could be risky.
Exactly. The system analyzes concepts, skill vectors, and market signals. But the doctrine explicitly forbids the public exposure of personally identifiable information or internal candidate records.
So they feed the intelligence engine concepts, never human identities.
Yes.
Which
leads directly to what their internal playbooks call the clean hands power play.
the clean hands power play, that sounds intense. What is that?
It's their approach to feedback. The rule is never a weapon, never a bluff, never argue, present reality, then the remediation path.
Present reality, then the remediation path. Okay, give me an example of how that works.
Sure. Imagine a candidate applies for a senior engineering role, but they lack a specific mandatory security certification.
Okay.
BAIR doesn't send a generic rejection email. The system, or the human operating it, presents the audited reality, they say. You currently lack the ISO 27001 certification required by the DVA standard for this role.
Clean hands. No argument. Just the facts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it immediately follows with the remediation path. They'll say, here is the pathway to acquire that certification to meet the standard.
So it replaces a flat rejection with an actionable roadmap.
Right. It's incredibly constructive.
But wait, let me play devil's advocate here for a second.
Okay.
I'm looking at this regulatory checklist. ARIOS data logging, EU AI Act compliance, mandatory human audits, generating evidence packs for every single decision.
Sounds like a lot.
It sounds like a massive bottleneck. In the high-end tech recruitment world, speed is basically the only metric that matters to employers.
Right. The war for talent.
Yeah. If you don't secure a top-tier engineer in 48 hours, they're signing an offer with a competitor. So this level of meticulous bureaucracy, how do they not lose every good candidate to faster, sloppier agencies?
It's a really valid critique, but the internal architecture documents actually anticipate that exact argument.
Oh, they do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The stated philosophy is Governance isn't the brake, it's the steering.
Governance isn't the brake, it's the steering. Okay, unpack that for me.
Well, when an agency lacks governance, they actually hemorrhage time.
How so?
They waste days on human indecision, debating whether a candidate is a good cultural fit based on gut feelings, arguing over biased interpretations of a resume, second-guessing unstructured interviews.
Oh, right, because the criteria are subjective, every decision requires a debate.
Exactly, it's all friction. But within the BAIR ecosystem, because the Arios engine and the DVA standards are rigidly predefined and mathematically mapped, the AI can process incoming candidate intelligence at light speed.
So the machine instantly checks the data against the predefined gates without any hesitation or bias.
Right. The AI is doing the heavy lifting of routine execution instantly. And it only pauses to invoke the human in the loop at specific high judgment checkpoints.
So the infrastructure actually absorbs the complexity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which allows the human operators to move incredibly fast, but with absolute confidence. They don't have to sift through 500 messy applications. They just evaluate the 5 perfectly audited candidates the system already verified.
Okay, that makes total sense. The governance basically creates a paved highway so the human operators can drive at top speed without crashing.
That's a perfect way to put it.
But if the machine is handling all that heavy lifting, what is the HERM actually doing with its resources? Because, looking at their content architecture, BAR spends a startling amount of time acting more like a university than a recruitment agency.
And this brings us to their macro market strategy, which revolves entirely around what they call the trust bank.
The trust banks.
Yeah, the doctrine dictates a very strict content distribution ratio, 80-15-5.
I saw this. 80% of their output is pure, ungated educational value. No call to action, no send us your CV, no promotional hooks at all.
None.
It is entirely focused on career development, AI literacy, and governance education.
Right. And then 15% is soft positioning.
Like showing how their specific programs work as teaching examples.
Exactly. And then only 5% of their total market output is a direct ask to actually engage their recruitment services.
Which is wild. Allocating 80% of your operational bandwidth to public education is a radical deployment of capital for a recruitment firm.
It's completely unheard of. But you have to look at the scale of the world building they use to deliver it.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
They have audio sessions branded as BAIR Radio.
All right.
They distribute governance literacy content under this banner of Governance for Humans. And they house all these teaching assets in what they call the library and the CQV guide.
And their seminars are structured on this massive scalability ladder, too.
Oh, yeah, the tier system.
They start intimate in the concept hall, right? Then they expand to the grand auditorium, scale up to the Olympic Stadium, and peak at a global telecast.
It's an entire educational ecosystem.
But the curriculum itself is what's truly unusual to me. They are teaching candidates how to format a cover letter or, like, make eye contact in an interview.
No. They are teaching deep AI literacy.
Which is so niche for a job seeker.
Is it, though? They are instructing candidates on the precise mechanics of AI-driven hiring. They break down the legal implications of the EU AI Act specifically for job seekers.
Wow.
They teach courses on algorithmic bias, the mathematics of transparency, and how to construct digital portfolios that send readable skill signals to automated parsing engines.
So they're basically preparing the workforce for an era where machines, not humans, conduct the initial reading of their intelligence and capability.
Exactly.
But, and here's my next big question, why give away the blueprint?
Right.
If BAIR's competitive advantage is their proprietary understanding of governed AI recruitment, why spend 80% of their effort teaching the general public and potentially their competitors exactly how it works?
It seems counterintuitive, but it is an aggressive, brilliant moat-building strategy.
Rooted in the economics of trust.
Right. By educating the candidate pool on what a legally compliant, fair, and reconstructible hiring process should look like, BAIR empowers the market to demand those standards from everyone.
Oh, they are teaching candidates to recognize bad actors.
Exactly. Think about it. A candidate goes through BAIR's Governance for Humans curriculum. They completely understand their rights under the AI Act.
Okay.
And then they interview with a traditional tech firm. Instead of just hoping to get the job, the candidate asks, hey, can you provide the audit trail for the algorithm you use to screen my portfolio? Can you guarantee human-in-the-loop oversight on my technical assessment?
And when that traditional firm inevitably stammers and completely fails to provide that evidence,
The candidate instantly realizes the vast superiority of the BAIR ecosystem.
that is incredibly smart. BAIR is basically raising the baseline standard of the entire industry to a height that only they can comfortably clear.
Yes, education isn't a charity project for them. It is a competitive differentiator.
Wow.
Furthermore, they bridge the empathy gap between employers and candidates through this anonymized community FAQ loop.
Oh, I read about this. They analyze the aggregate data of what employers are desperately seeking and what candidates are deeply anxious about, and then they publish those thematic concepts.
Right. They expose the mechanics of the market without exposing the PII of any of the participants.
So this 8155 model completely flips the dynamic. It's like walking into a casino where the dealer forces you to sit through an hour-long math seminar on house edges, variance, and probability before he lets you place a single bet.
That is a brilliant analogy.
Right. They are so confident in the integrity of their system that showing you the wiring only increases your willingness to play.
Because in a digital economy saturated with distrust, where candidates feel constantly exploited and manipulated by opaque algorithms, trust is the rarest and most valuable commodity.
Yeah, the doctrine's final rule actually states, distribution is value, trust is value.
Exactly. By becoming the premier educator on AI hiring, they build the most trusted audience. And when you hold the trust of the top-tier talent pool, placing those candidates with employers becomes, in their own words, inevitable.
Inevitable. That's a strong word.
Yeah.
But it's one thing to understand their curriculum and appreciate the transparency. It's entirely another to actually execute it in your own life.
Oh, absolutely.
Because the deeper you go into the base documentation, the more it demands this fundamental rewiring of how a candidate actually operates on a daily basis.
Right.
You have to stop thinking like a job seeker and start thinking like the governed bearer.
Which requires a complete psychological shift away from the traditional hustle economy
Yeah.
and toward a strict systems engineering mindset.
Yeah, let's talk about that. The foundational tenet of the BAIR doctrine, the first axiom, is really stark. It says, effort does not scale. Systems scale.
And the documentation provides this clarifying example for this that I love. It says, a founder asks, what should I do today? A CEO asks, what system should exist so this never requires me again?
See, that completely attacks the traditional advice given to job seekers, which is to just grind.
Right, the whole hustle culture.
We are taught that success is a volume game. Send out 500 applications, attend every single networking event, constantly tweak your resume.
It's an economy built on sheer brute force effort.
Exactly. But BAIR views that brute force effort as operational waste.
Yes. The final rule of the doctrine is relentless on this point. It says, hope is not a strategy. Effort is not leverage. Busyness is not progress. Revenue is not value.
Busyness is not progress. That is a tough pill to swallow for a lot of people.
That is.
So if busyness is not progress, what should a candidate actually be doing?
The doctrine answers that too. It says, infrastructure is value, doctrine is value, distribution is value, trust is value.
And their primary sign-off, which is heavily featured across all their materials, is the mandate. Build assets, build systems, build inevitability.
Right.
So how does a candidate actually build personal infrastructure? What does that look like?
Well, a professional asset in this context is not, a well-written cover letter.
Okay.
It is a reconstructible, machine-readable proof of competence.
Like what?
Like a highly maintained GitHub repository with clean commit histories, or an audited portfolio of successful project deployments. It's a verified micro-credential.
Oh, I see.
It is an established network and a public trail of thought leadership that acts as a beacon, signaling your value to AI sorting engines even when you are asleep.
So you aren't hunting for opportunities. You're building a system that inevitably attracts them.
Exactly. You are the system.
And they enforce this systemic thinking by demanding candidates apply what they call named decision lenses to their career choices.
Right.
Before taking a job or starting a project, you have to run it through the lens of margin risk position or mission rigor human aligned.
You don't just take a role because the salary is slightly higher.
Right. You analyze whether the role builds your long-term infrastructure, whether the company's governance aligns with your standards, and whether the position actually increases your leverage in the market.
The source material references this 90-day CEO transformation program, where the ultimate goal is to make the CEO unnecessary to routine execution. That is the exact parallel for the BAIR candidate. Your goal is to become so systematically competent and your assets so highly visible and auditable that landing your next elite role isn't the result of a frantic, anxiety-inducing job search.
It becomes the routine, inevitable output of the infrastructure you've spent years building.
Precisely.
To make this practical, the documents actually outline a highly specific, disciplined, weekly operational rhythm that the organization uses.
And it maps perfectly to how a candidate should structure their time.
Let's walk through it. So Monday is construct.
Right. On Monday, you set the meta-narrative, you define your strategic goals for the week, and you align your mindset.
Then Tuesday is infrastructure.
This is where you actually build the assets.
So you aren't applying for jobs on Tuesday.
No, definitely not. You are updating your technical schemas, refining your public portfolios, and ensuring your data vectors are formatted to be perfectly parsed by systems like Aerios.
Okay. Then Wednesday is customer reality.
This is where you analyze the market. You look at the aggregated data DER publishes. What specific skills are employers actively paying a premium for this week? Where is the demand shifting?
Got it. Thursday is leverage.
Right, the deployment phase.
Yeah.
You utilize your trust bank, you publish your insights, you engage in high-level targeted networking based on the assets you built on Tuesday and the market reality you analyzed on Wednesday.
And finally, Friday is the war room.
You review the metrics, what signals worked, what failed to generate a response. You audit the system, adjust the parameters, and prepare for the next construct on Monday.
It completely removes the panic of the unknown.
It shifts the mindset from frantic daily survival to methodical structural engineering.
But, okay, let's ground this in the reality of a turbulent economy for a second.
Okay.
Telling a job seeker whose severance runs out in 3 weeks that busyness is not progress and they need to focus on infrastructure, that sounds incredibly detached.
I know, it sounds harsh.
It does. If you need a paycheck to survive, you have to hustle. You don't have time to build a pristine GitHub repository. You need an interview tomorrow.
Right.
So is this highly disciplined philosophical approach just a luxury only available to elite candidates with massive safety nets?
It's a great point.
Yeah.
But the documentation does not hide from this friction.
It doesn't.
No. The Character Bible explicitly lists BAIR's weaknesses as being austere, setting an incredibly high bar, and being deeply impatient with waste.
Impatient with waste.
Yeah. The system will not flatter a desperate candidate, and it's not designed for quick, messy fixes.
Mhm.
However, the psychological underpinning of the doctrine argues that panic is the enemy of survival.
Because frantic busyness usually leads to fatal errors.
Exactly. Accepting a toxic role, bombing a technical interview because of lack of preparation, or just projecting an aura of desperation that repels high-quality employers.
Right. Panic makes you sloppy. And sloppy data gets instantly rejected by the AI.
Precisely. BAIR's methodology is designed to instill what they call calm and pressure.
Calm and pressure.
Yeah. Even if your timeline is severely compressed, taking a breath, acting deliberately, and ensuring your signals are organized and systematic will yield an exponentially higher success rate than chaotic, fearful scrambling.
So the discipline of the system is the anchor that prevents you from drowning when the pressure is highest.
That's exactly it.
Calm in pressure. It brings us right back to the visual of the bear by the fire, honestly.
It really does. Everything connects.
So let's synthesize this journey.
Okay.
The candidate experience with Brehon AI Recruitment is basically a masterclass in engineered contrasts.
Absolutely.
It utilizes this calming, woodland meets boardroom aesthetic to lower the candidate's defensive barriers.
Right.
But beneath that aesthetic runs a fiercely governed, legally rigorous infrastructure powered by the Aerios engine and DBA standards.
Ensuring every single decision is mathematically reconstructible and fundamentally fair.
Exactly. It requires an immense front-loaded investment in education, treating candidates as partners in AI literacy rather than mere commodities.
The 8155 rule.
Yeah. And ultimately, it demands that you abandon the chaotic hustle economy in favor of building unshakable personal systems.
It is an attempt to entirely re-engineer the baseline mechanics of human capital in the algorithmic age.
So, as you look at your own career trajectory, you have to ask yourself, are you relying on hope, sheer effort, and the exhaustion of busyness? Or are you taking the deliberate time to build reconstructible assets and governed systems that make your ultimate success inevitable?
And as we step out of the executive lodge today, there's a final, larger implication to consider.
What's that?
Well, we've explored how BAIR's rigorous human-in-the-loop governance forces the AI to be accountable, right? Effectively civilizing the machine.
Right.
But if this philosophy succeeds, if candidates are trained to operate on strict weekly rhythms, to manage their skills as machine-readable data vectors, to value auditability over emotion, and to maintain absolute calm and pressure,
Oh, wow.
are we actually training the humans to behave more like the algorithms?
That is the ultimate paradox. In the quest to govern AI recruitment, the lasting legacy might not be how we changed the code, but how the code completely systematized human professional behavior.
It is definitely something to consider the next time you find yourself at the edge of the woods.